Hey guys, I'm Sean Hammond with PremierGuitar.com in Berlin, Germany at the Holy Grail Guitar Show. I've got luthier Michael Spalt here from Austria. We have Elena on guitar again. I think this is our third video, or is this fourth? I'm losing count. Michael, what's this guitar called?
Fracture. And the reason for that is that it's like you drop a bunch of colors on the floor and bang, it kind of, fractures. And it's actually the Fracture 2 because I made a bass a few years back that was the original Fracture. And it had the same kind of pattern style.
And it's like a bunch of puzzle pieces together, yeah, and then in resin or something, yeah, or some acrylic? Or
it is a special resin that I've been doing this for about 20 years now. And the first guitar actually is like 20 years old. I still have it. I developed this process over time. What I wanted to achieve is to unify all these different elements into one smooth body. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's various considerations like, foremost, sound, and finding the right combination of how to construct it and what kind of resin to use and all that. Took some time, but it's been very successful. I mean, there's about 350 of these guitars around now.
Oh, really? Of the fractured basic idea?
What I call them is the totem guitars. That's what they started out as, also because I've had people send me stuff to put in, and you can actually, embed things in there. If you look closely, you see that it's different levels, because it allows me to do
different depths in the resin.
Yeah, like the lower horn, if you lift the guitar a little bit, you can see from the side that you have it's a 3D thing.
Very cool. You have a whole bunch of pieces. There's a button here. Yeah. And then is this a metal number?
No, it's actually an old printing number. They made them out of wood once, and I have a whole bunch of them. Okay, what goes into these guitars in a way is I collect stuff everywhere. Uh-huh. Sometimes I walk on the street, I find stuff. Sometimes on the beach, sometimes on eBay. So I have a whole collection of things, and like the knobs. These are old Bakelite knobs from old radios. And the switch knob is made from a material that was called Catalin, which they had before plastic. Mm-hmm. It is like plastic, but I find the colors more intense, and it has a nice translucency. The
almost looks ceramic or something.
Yeah, and the pickups I call them the bone top pickups because it's actually colored bone. These are the bone pieces are made for knife handles originally. So I saw them, and what I like about it is
they're not bones from your human victims.
Well, I give a guy a guitar, and it has a poison spike in there, and after a while, once he's dead, I harvest the bone. And
well, we did discover while we were talking before the video that you used to work in screenwriting, so I didn't know if you fled California for a reason and just brought the bones with you. Or?
No, it's much more mundane than that, I'm afraid. There's a company that makes these in actually America, and if you look at the...
Are you able to tell us which company?
Well, they're called knife handles.
The actual pickups are called the company?
No, the pickups, I make them.
Oh, okay. So
I make
the handles come from America, and you wind your own pickup.
No, I don't wind them. What I do is I make the bobbin, and I lived in the States for 30 years, and the beginning of my career was back there. I just came back here 7-8 years ago. Okay. I had a shop in LA, the LA Guitar Garage, where I did repairs, and so I had been working for about 15 years as a professional guitar repairer, builder in the States. And I developed most of them. Most of these things are from the States in the terms of the resin material and the bone material and things like that.
What are the inlays made of?
They're little circles of, in this case, aluminum, and the insert is bone again. It comes in many colors. What I like about it is that it's very, being dead material, but it's very much alive. It's got texture, it's got color variations, and so it's not just like, you know, a uniform plastic dot. Because what I'm looking at in my guitars is also, and I think that's what makes vintage instruments very attractive. When they made them, they weren't looking at them in terms of, okay, what happens over time with them. So if you take a nitro lacquer, for instance, over time, it actually acquires some beauty. You take, I'm not going to say, well...
polyurethane?
Polyurethane, because like I got, you know, the worst part of having to fix stuff, lacquer stuff, when I had the repair shop, were guitars like PRS. It's got this perfect finish, but you put a ding in it, and it's hell to deal with it. And so what I liked about vintage instruments also is very much that you get an old guitar there, there's something about the way it ages that improves in a way almost. It's beautiful when it's new and shiny, but it doesn't lose that beauty, it just transforms. So when I make my instruments, I also look towards getting materials and ways of working that have that same quality.
What was the voicing you were going for on these pickups?
I worked with Lindy Fralin, actually. He wound my pickups mostly. Now, every now and then, I have some made by Harry Heusel also. He's one of the best German pickup makers, simply because sending stuff back and forth and sending bone back and forth has become a pretty difficult process. Just because, you know, it's organic material and customs gets very squirrely about that. So I worked, when I conceived of the idea, I made bobbins and I sent them to Lindy, and we worked on various configurations. The neck, it's a basic P90 architecture, but for instance, the neck pickups have ceramic magnets instead of Alnico 2 magnets to preserve clarity, but at the same time be warm and not get muddy. And the bridge pickups are more traditional in the sense that they have Alnico 2 magnets. They're wound differently, so you get a nice combination, and they're tailored for that kind of setup.
Now, why did you choose to make the bobbins for Lindy to wind instead of just have him use what he already makes?
Well, the whole idea of, I mean, if you look at a guitar like that and you put a regular pickup in there, it's a bit of, you know, doesn't work very well.
So was
I
it...
used to do that. And at a certain point, it's like, okay, I can put a regular pickup in there, but it just doesn't look right.
Is it because you had specific dimensions in mind to work with the entire composition, if you will, of the look of the guitar?
Okay, I went to art school, so you mentioned composition. In a way, that's what it's about. The whole thing is a composition. As you see also, like the knobs and everything, every element plays a role. Yeah. Okay? If you take the vibrato, it's not a Bixby. It's a Duesenberg piece, but it's got a Bixby handle. Reason being that I wanted to have the wide opening in the back. And it's actually modified because the Duesenberg...
You took this thing out, right? Put something in there.
Yeah. And it had a third strip in there. I took that out. So I work with my materials, I work with the hardware and all that to get to where I want to be with it, and so that it all fits into this unified whole.
It's really cool looking. Can I ask just a couple more mundane details, and then we'll have Elena play it a little bit more? So, like, we have the acrylic puzzle piece top,
yeah,
for lack of a better term. What's the rest of the body made of?
Well, the idea is you actually, in this case, have a nice old mahogany body. The neck
Really
is
nicely figured back there too. Just the shape of it. It's a cool shape.
Yeah.
Sorry. To interrupt.
That's you know, the guitar. The way I see it, it's a collision between two worlds. One is the aesthetic world, and the other one is the ergonomic musician sound, feel, and playability. And they come together in this, and all the elements are of equal importance. This kind of construction, it looks like a glued-in neck, but because of the resin work, I have to work with a bolt-on neck construction. So behind that little plate, there is a bolt. And I came up with that for aesthetic reasons, really. But then I found that having one single bolt that is, a threaded machine bolt insert, it focuses the sound. There's that one contact point between the neck and the body where the sound transfer happens. And so you don't have the confusion that happens when you have 4 points with various pressures. It really focuses the sound. I found that, man, we as guitar builders, we discover things as we go. I mean, there are formulas that you can use to get into the ballpark.
And you kind of evolve as you go, just like with art.
Exactly. It's not something where, and when I found out that, I started working on that. So the neck actually goes all the way underneath the pickup. There's 2 smaller bolts here that stabilize it. But the main point of contact is the bolt behind that little oval plate. And it provides a perfect transfer point for the vibrations. So these instruments have quite a clear voice. They have very good sustain. And it's a really nice way of making a joint that also is aesthetically pleasing.
And is this mahogany? Or?
Yeah. The back is mahogany. The resin, this being an all mahogany guitar, what the resin top does is, sound-wise, it acts very much like a maple top. It lifts a bit of the highs, sparkle on top, and adds some sustain. So I've learned over time how all these elements kind of interact and kind of mix it. It's a little bit like cooking, a little pepper here, a little bit salt here, and then that whole thing comes together in a pleasing whole.
Cool. Should we have Elena play a little more, maybe a different flavor than what she played on the beginning? Michael, so we have swapped out guitars for Elena to play. You want to tell us a little bit about this one before we have her dig in?
This is one of my very latest builds, and it's a little different from everything else. But it's basically, it works with the resin. It's a little bit of an Art Deco inspired piece. The body's cedro underneath of the gold leaf finish, and the centerpiece is flamed redwood. And the pickup in this case is actually an old celluloid hairpiece that we did a show in Paris, and I went to the flea market, and they had a collection of these. And so I looked at them and thought, man, these will make great pickup covers. And so I bought a bunch, and we flattened them out and made pickups out of them.
Super cool.
That's how those things happen. And in this case, again, the resin top is just over the top It's much less than on the other guitar. The main body is cedar and Macassar ebony fingerboard and headstock.
Super cool. Can we see the back of it?
Yeah, and, you can see how the redwood sits in the cedar body. The two bolts there are countersunk bolts for the bridge. Both woods are very soft woods, and so I wanted to make sure that in this place there's not, I mean, they're glued properly, but there's also certain pressure underneath the bridge that welds the body together. Same neck construction. And then, you know, like they have these expensive shoes that have red soles, and I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool, like a Jimmy Choo headstock pack.
Nice.
So, you know, when I make instruments, I get bored very quickly, and so I never make the same instrument twice. And every instrument, in a way, is, I'm not ashamed to say, you know, a playground. And
now, you mentioned, are most of your guitars something you build from scratch, unless someone wants to send you stuff to have put in the resin?
yeah, I also have done quite a bit of that. The idea of totem, in a way, is that, you know, it's a personal thing. It carries something of you, your mojo, whatever. So they become quite personal sometimes in terms of people sending me stuff, and we work on, okay, what would you like in terms of the sound and all those things, and then the aesthetics get worked on with their objects and so on.
Other than that, are most of your guitars just things that you come up with first and then people buy them? You're not doing a lot of custom work unless it's one of those that you put the totem ones?
No, I do a lot of custom work also. I approach every project, and in some ways custom work sometimes is a lot more fun because you have something to rub up against in terms of
Gets you out of your normal mindset where you might not go by yourself.
So you have to exercise your muscles a bit, and I like doing both. The resin process requires me to build more guitars than one at various stages in the production process. So I always have some stuff going on. So if I get a custom order and I work on that, I also make one or two guitars parallel to that, because out of the process that I need to do that. And so it's about, you know, it varies. Sometimes there's more custom work, sometimes there's more just work, I don't know, a guitar show coming up or something, then I just build them.
Cool. Should we have Elena play us out when you tell people where to go online to check out your guitars? Sure. And then we'll have her play us out? Where should people go?
www.spaltinstruments.com.
Cool. Thanks,
or
Michael.
on Facebook, Spalt Instruments or Michael Spalt.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, guys. I'm Sean Hammond for PremierGuitar.com, and Elena's going to play us out. Thanks, Elena.